Step right up to this merry-go-round of murder. Aliens have invaded a small town, and they're planning to use the humans as strawberry milkshakes. These garbage pail clown kids are going on a killing spree in Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Hello there, you Lucians, and welcome back to another episode of Spicy Boy Rewind Reviews, where we go back and look at a cult classic through fresh eyes. And today's cult classic horror film is Killer Clowns from Outer Space, released in 1988, directed by Stephen Chiodo. He's more known for doing special effects on certain films, and this being his feature film debut. Since directing this film, he's also directed the animation sequences of Elvira's Movie Macabre and Alien Xmas. We open the film at Makeout Point in a small town where all the 20-somethings go to get venereal diseases. We meet a young couple here, Debbie and Mike, who, before they play a game of hide the hot dog, notice a comet crashing towards Earth. And they decide to leave and go investigate the crash, which can only go well. Not only them, but an elderly excavator also notices the comet heading towards Earth. And he decides the best action is to go investigate the crash site, so he rounds up his bloodhound and away he goes. He stumbles upon an illuminated circus tent where the comet should have landed. It's not long before a clown pops up who looks like it would haunt the nightmares of Pennywise, and he kidnaps the elderly man's dog. But before the elderly man can go full-blown John Wick on this clown, he is then vaporized. Then, not long behind, Mike and Debbie discover this illuminated circus tent and start to figure that something isn't right.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
They then enter the circus tent and discover it's not only a Tim Burton vomit nightmare, but it's also...
It's a space station.
They are then chased away by, you guessed it, killer clowns. They just escape these killer clowns and head back to town, and these killer clowns decide to do the same. Mike and Debbie then ask for help from Debbie's ex-boyfriend, who just so happens to be a cop. This new wave officer is dealing with his own problems, having to share the police duties with Chief Wright Wingham, who loves guns, hates the gays, and comes across as someone who really likes domestic violence. Officer Duran Duran is really reluctant to help Debbie in her plights here, but he plays along. He humours Mike and Debbie's story and goes to investigate these killer clowns. While this all happens, the clowns come to towns, and they get up to all kinds of wacky kills. Every clown cliche is on display here as a form of murder. All of this is so these clown aliens can harvest humans and mummify them in cotton candy. Here we get all kinds of cliches. We get balloon sniffer dogs, parasite popcorn, skin-melting throwing pies, even a murderous apex predator shadow puppet. It all leads to Debbie being kidnapped by the killer clowns, and Officer Johnny Lawrence, Mike, and two horny ice cream truck drivers go to save the day. Ah, the 80s, the era of Coke. This film is all kinds of batshit crazy. It's chock full of popping vibrant colours, matte paintings, claymation, puppetry, and every kind of special effects you can throw at a screen. The structure of this film is almost identical to The Blob, and oddly enough, the 80s remake of The Blob was released the same year as this film. I also highly recommend the 80s remake of The Blob if you haven't seen it already. The acting all around in this film is obviously horrendous. It's craptastic fun. I would say it's best viewed as a double feature alongside Chopping Mall. It also runs at a brisk pace of 87 minutes. It's such a crazy, wacky concept for a film that only could be released in the 80s. It's almost like the Chiodo brothers, who wrote this film, picked random words out of a hat and put them together, which came up for the title of this film, and then made a film based around that title. And on that note, I'm still waiting for Werewolf Women of the SS, Mr. Zombie. There's also a really rad song that accompanied this film by the Dickies called, of course, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, which of course is on my Halloween Spotify playlist. I was also today years old when I discovered there was a popular video game based on this film. This is uber cheesy, batshit crazy, maniacal madness, highly recommended. Really good 80s horror film schlock to be inserted into a movie marathon. I didn't grow up watching this film, I only watched it for this review, and everyone kept telling me about it. I kept hearing the title of this film all around the horror community, and I thought, fuck it, I'll give it a go. And I was pleasantly surprised, especially with that bloody runtime. Anyway guys, that's my cheeky little review of Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Write down below if you've seen it, if you're a fan of it, and why. And of course, if you made it this far into the episode, please give me a thumbs up because your love and support keeps me going, because I just love movies and I assume you do as well. And of course, don't forget to hit that subscribe icon because I give out an episode weekly, and I'll see you back here next week for the next review, and until then, stay spooky, kids.